Juhi ma'am. So
Okay, thanks Policy Times first for having me here, and thank you, Akram. Okay, so I really don't need to go to the context of why plastic waste management is important. Like any other country in the world, India is also fighting the menace of plastic waste management, despite having a very low significant per capita consumption at 11 kgs. Still, there is a big issue because 40% of what we generate, which is 26,000 tons of plastic waste, remains uncollected, and then it finds its way either to the landfill or the oceans. Hence, it's a threat to the environment. Let's look at some of the systemic challenges that exist in the plastic waste management landscape today. Number one, the issue is that there's no adequate facilities or infrastructure when it comes to collection and recycling. The second is that there's no sortation of waste at source, which is a big challenge, and it makes the entire waste collection process very complex. But despite all this, for PET especially, there is a very thriving ecosystem. It's not circular yet; it's linear, but it is existing. And all the used PET bottles are, collected, converted, shredded to flakes, and then converted to polyester fiber, and it's going to textile industry. So that's, I think, a very good, news for India. We are more now looking at circular environment. I'll talk about in a minute. Looking at the regulatory landscape, again, there's been many challenges or many changes. The landscape has evolved greatly. In fact, this year itself, I think the policy environment is changed third or the fourth time, and the latest amendment has been on 6th October, which really talks about both upstream EPR as well as downstream EPR. So downstream EPR, I think, was there, from earlier, but now it is really forcing the industry to look at end of life options. While MLP was primarily going to cement kilns, almost 90% as an RDF, but now it will also force the industry to look at opportunities of end of life. I would want to highlight here that while the policy environment is there and the brands and the PBOs are committed to do this, there is a gap when you look at the when you look at the ground opportunities, inadequate infrastructure. I talked about the systemic challenges. So despite the commitment or the intent being there, there are significant gaps which are there leading to challenges. So again, we are very looking forward to the new policy amendment that has come. I talked about upstream EPR and downstream EPR. There is a mandatory minimum recycled content used for food contact material, and I think that's a very welcome move because that will drive circularity. It will drive bottle to bottle recycling. It will reduce the virgin consumption. But again, do we have enough rPET material today for the brands to use? Because 2023, 30% looks very ambitious right now. So probably we need to really have some conservative targets to start with and then move on to the new targets. So that's in the policy environment. I really don't want to go here 30, 70, 100%. This is where, we are all standing as a business. We have been able to accomplish 100%, this year, working with multiple waste management partners, almost 8 waste management partners across the board. And we are very happy with that achievement, despite all the systemic challenges that exist. It's a long road ahead looking at the new requirements that are there, but I'm sure all the partnerships that exist today will help us meet the new requirements. Looking at what PepsiCo does in terms of EPR landscape, the first, the pillar is that industry-led advocacy is there. Then we work through multiple waste management partners to meet our EPR requirements. And the third important aspect is the 360-degree communication plan, which my previous speaker also talked about, talking about the IEC and how consumer awareness is also very important. So, talking about the advocacy element first, we have worked very closely to the industry consortium to really shape the EPR policy. Brand neutrality is one such example which we've been able to introduce in the law. Otherwise, the collection viability will just not have been there. The other unique aspect that has been done is that through CSSPL, we've been able to create the biggest producer responsibility organization, which has like-minded companies, both multinationals and Indian companies, which are working on a collective EPR basis. They have come on a non-compete platform and really working together to really see how impactful EPR can be done. The second one is waste management, and I'll probably skip this slide because everyone knows about the PET ecosystem that exists and how the waste management partners are setting up collection centers on behalf of PBOs and really carrying out recycling and waste disposal activity. I would want to highlight some of the awareness drives that PepsiCo has been driving. We have been able to cover a lot of awareness drives, whether it's beach cleanup exercise, Plog Run, which is an annual property now for PepsiCo, where we've been driving consumers to really come together with us, our employees, our leadership team, to really get together and collect, plastic waste and then send it for recycling purposes. So this is the third year that we did in Plug Run. The first one was at India Gate, and this was appreciated by our own Prime Minister as well. The second and third, because of the COVID, we had to do virtual events. The latest in the stream has been the Tidy Trails campaign, which is launched in Mathura, which is also one of the places where a greenfield project has come up. This I've already talked about. So what is going forward? What are we looking at? I think next on the annual is that looking at the entire people and planet integration approach. My previous speaker also talked about importance of formalization of the waste stream or the waste pickers, because they are the backbone of the entire collection stream, and also at the very lowest of the pyramid, socioeconomic pyramid. So we really need to work together, with them on developing their capacities, training them for better sortation, looking at social inclusion schemes which can provide dignity for the work that they are doing. We are dabbling with some of the projects which are looking at making them micro entrepreneurs through capex building on mini material recovery facility construction, for example. At a planet approach, we are really looking forward to the RPET unlock, recycled plastic use in packaging. While we have approval from MOEFCC, but there are approvals from FSSAI and the BI standards which are awaited. Last on my slide is some of the learning that I wanted to share with all of you. I think a proactive approach is really required. We should not really wait for governments to turn really stringent and do something on the environment. We absolutely know this is the right thing to do, plastic waste management. This is in the long run good for the environment and the business. So we really need to define the narrative. The second one is build ecosystem alliances. The magnitude of the issue is so big, no single company, no single municipality, no single country can really manage this alone. So we really need to have a collective action, driving on plastic waste management. The third aspect is on adding value to get value. We really need to keep working with waste management partners on the entire capacity building, also the rag picker network, so that we can derive a fair and transparent EPR systems. The fourth one is a consumer-centric approach. I think I've talked about it, that we need to continue working on the awareness drives, because the systemic challenge of waste sortation at source lies with the consumer right now. I would want to end by saying that there is no right or a perfect model that exists when you talk about the waste management landscape. Hence, a do model is required. You have to continue to do pilots, learn from those pilots, and evolve your strategy going forward. Thank you for having me, and look forward to hearing more speakers. Thank you.